Alright, we're opening tonight with something special. What you're about to see is a conversation we recorded right here in Minsk with George Galloway, host of the mother of all talk shows, one of the most watched political broadcasts on the planet. Now, love him or hate him, here's why this matters. You're not supposed to hear honest conversations like this anymore, unfiltered, unscripted, and far from the usual Western echo chamber. We caught up with George and talked about his visit to Minsk, his impressions of the city and its people, our trip to the Stalin Line, and of course the KHL hockey game at the Minsk Arena that we went to on Thursday night. It's a different side of Belarus, the side the outside world rarely sees. So in a moment we're going to play you that full conversation. No spin, no headlines, just real impressions from a man who's seen a lot of the world and finally came here to see this part of it for himself. Let's roll that interview. I'm honoured to have with me the legendary George Galloway, host of the mother of all talk shows, the biggest political podcast on the planet, airing on YouTube every Wednesday and Sunday at 7 p.m. London time. It is a show I watch every week without fail. A huge thank you to Mr. Galloway for joining me, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on my live show. George, you spent some time here in Minsk. What are your first impressions of the city? When you arrived, what struck you the most? As you walked around the city and met people, what sense have you gotten of everyday life here? And of course, many Westerners have never seen Belarus and have a very different picture in their minds. How does the real Minsk compare to the image often portrayed in the Western media?
Well, thank you for the opportunity, not just to appear on your show, but to thank you publicly for all the help that you gave your fellow British Aussie delegation that arrived here in Minsk some days ago and is now departing. It was thanks to you that we saw things and people in Minsk that we would not otherwise have seen. So many thanks. I'll be forever grateful to you. As to your question, Minsk is a wonderful place. It is a beautiful European city. It's incredibly clean. It's absolutely safe, even in the dead of night. We've walked around here 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and haven't felt in the least in peril from anyone. I never saw a beggar. I never saw a threatening individual, and I saw hardly any police. And there are not many European cities of which you could say that nowadays. The people are stoic, they are determined, they are patriotic, they know their history, they know who was with them and who was against them. And now that the European powers have inexplicably made an enemy of Belarus, well, they are looking farther and farther afield for new friends and customers and investors, and they are finding them. Not just the obvious in Russia, but also in China. China has a very, very big position here now in Belarus and donated a football stadium to the people of Minsk, donated many other cultural and sporting facilities. And it's good that Minsk now has new friends. Not that it doesn't want to remake relations with its old friends, but that's a matter for the old friends rather than for the people of Belarus. It is a wonderful city with great potential. If you were buying property anywhere in Europe, frankly, you'd buy it here. The value of the property here is a fantastic investment. If you're looking for a holiday for your family in a place that values the family and values traditional things in life, this is definitely where you would come. Restaurants are amazing. Lebanese restaurants, Chinese restaurants, Belarus restaurants, Russian restaurants, Georgian restaurants. It's a food fantasy capital, this, Minsk. So thanks to you, we saw all of that and much more.
We took a trip together out to the Stalin Line just outside Minsk, an incredible symbolic site for Belarus, which has equipment from the Great Patriotic War and the Cold War periods. What were your impressions when you saw the scale of the complex, the military equipment, and the attention to preserving its history? And do you think people in the West truly grasp what this country went through during the Great Patriotic War?
Well, they don't, of course. In fact, they are making every effort in Western countries, not just to forget about World War II, but to distort and rewrite history so far as World War II is concerned. We're supposed to hate Russia and love Germany. We're supposed to hate China and love Japan. And in the period that I grew up in, these were, of course, entirely reversed. The Stalin Line was one of the great experiences of my life, to be honest, and I have you to thank for it. We would never have made the journey but for you, and you were quite insistent that we would find it valuable, and boy, did we find it valuable. Not just the hands-on experience of reliving the horrors that took place here in the lifetime of people still alive today. I mean, the Second World War only ended 9 years before I was born. I grew up in the shadow of the Second World War, and 1 in 4 citizens in Belarus were killed in the Second World War. The damage to this country was phenomenal, incalculable, and yet the heroism and determination to liberate their whole land was a national mission, and one which was pursued with patriotic, even religious zeal. Every last occupier was extirpated from this country. It is a sacrifice almost impossible to imagine. I mean, 1 in 4 British people would today be 15 million people or more. It is a truly staggering scale of losses. But the heroism of the tank men, of the men in those pillboxes, the men in those foxholes, the men in those trenches, the heroism of the people that held up the Nazi advance on the Stalin Line, including here in Belarus, must never be forgotten. If we forget to honor the people who made our own freedoms possible, then we are committing a very grave act. If not for the people here and the victorious Red Army in 1945, I'd be speaking to you in German, except, of course, I wouldn't be speaking to you. I would long ago, for one reason or another, have been destroyed.
And of course, on Thursday night, we went to the KHL hockey game for a home game between Dynamo Minsk and the Far Eastern Russian team Amur at the Minsk Arena. 15,000 people, sold out, electric atmosphere. This was your first ice hockey game, so what did you make of the game itself? The atmosphere, the passion of the fans, the presentation, the energy of the arena, and of course, are you now a Dynamo Minsk hockey fan?
I definitely am a fan of the famous Dynamo Minsk, and I'm now a fan of ice hockey. I had never before visited an ice hockey match, and I wouldn't have, except for you telling me how good it would be, and boy, did again you get that right. It was electric, as you say. The stadium is magnificent. The 15,000 fans sounded like 100,000 fans, and it was joy unconfined. We won 6 goals to 1, and I know that just a few days previously Dynamo had beaten Sochi by 8 goals to 2. So I'll be looking at the league table with a great deal more interest now than I would have before. Dynamo Minsk, great side, great colours, great stadium, great presentation. I really recommend not just ice hockey, but the famous Minsk Dynamo to everyone.
After nearly a week here, what will you take away from this visit to Belarus? Has it changed or challenged any of your early perceptions? And finally, if you were to describe Minsk in a few words for my viewers, what would they be?
No, the thank you all goes to you, I'm afraid. You did for us what nobody else did, and we'll never forget it. You ferried us around, you showed us the Stalin Line, you showed us the Dynamo Minsk ice hockey team, and these are life-changing experiences. The city can be summed up as I tried to do at the beginning, a beautiful European city. And it's Europe's loss, not Belarus's loss, it's Europe's loss to cut this beautiful country off. And there will be other friends who will take your place. So you who are sanctioning Belarus are not succeeding, first of all. The people are overcoming the sanctions. Look at the quality of the motor cars going past me right now. That was a Range Rover. There are Chinese cars, there are European cars, even North American cars here. There's everything that the people need here. And they've got a government that looks after them. And I wish we had a government that looks after our people. The schools here, the health service here, the public realm, the roads, the open spaces, public spaces, are all treasures that have largely disappeared in Western Europe. If you could see Western Europe today, you'd realize just how blessed the people are in Belarus.
Again, thank you for your time. And if you ever come to Minsk again, please let me know, and I'll show you around some more sites of the city and the country itself. And of course, the studio is yours to use when you want. That was George Galloway right here in Minsk, sharing his impressions of the city, his visit to the Stalin Line, and his very first ever KHL hockey game at the Minsk Arena. And for all the noise and narratives out there, sometimes it just takes being here, seeing it, feeling it, to understand what this country is really about. And a big thanks again to George for doing this and taking his time to experience Belarus for himself. And we'll be right back. You're watching From the Other Side.